The eternal winter. In a faraway land where mountains touched the sky, there was a small village called Eldwood. The village was quiet, buried under endless snow. Winter never left Eldwood, not for 100 years. The people said it was a curse, but no one knew why. The trees were bare, the rivers frozen, and the sun was just a pale ghost behind gray clouds. In this village lived a girl named Eliza. She was 16, with dark hair and eyes like the night sky. Her mother had died when she was small, and her father, a woodcutter, was all she had. They lived in a tiny house at the edge of the forest. Every morning, Eliza's father would kiss her forehead, take his axe, and walk into the woods. "Stay warm, my star," he'd say. And every evening, he'd come back with wood and a tired smile. But one day, he didn't come back. The wind howled that night, shaking the walls of their house. Eliza sat by the window, wrapped in a thin blanket, watching the snow swirl. Hours passed. The fire in the hearth died to embers. She whispered, "He'll come soon. He always does." But dawn broke, gray and cold, and the path to the forest stayed empty. Eliza pulled on her coat, old and patched, and stepped into the snow. Her boots crunched as she walked, calling, "Father, where are you?" The wind swallowed her voice. She searched the forest, her hands red and numb. She found his axe buried in a tree, but no sign of him. Tracks led deeper into the woods, then stopped at a cliff. Below, the river roared, half frozen and wild. Eliza sank to her knees. "He's gone," she said, tears freezing on her cheeks. The villagers helped her search for days, but they found nothing. "The forest took him," they said. "It happens sometimes." They left her alone with her grief. Weeks passed. Eliza stopped eating much. She stopped talking. She sat by the window, staring at the snow, waiting for a miracle. The village whispered, "She'll fade away, like her mother." One night, a storm came, worse than any before. The wind screamed, and the snow piled high against the door. Then, a knock. Eliza jumped. She opened the door, and there stood a stranger, a tall man in a black cloak, his face hidden by a hood. Snow clung to him like a second skin. "Who are you?" Eliza asked, her voice weak. "I am a traveler," he said. His voice was low, like the rumble of thunder. "I need shelter. The storm is cruel." Eliza hesitated, then nodded. "Come in." He stepped inside, bringing the cold with him. He sat by the fire, saying little. Eliza watched him. His hands were scarred, his eyes old and sad. "Why are you here?" she asked. "I'm looking for something," he said. "Something lost." Eliza turned away. "Everything here is lost." The stranger stayed. He chopped wood, fixed the roof, and kept the fire alive. Eliza didn't know why, but she let him. One night, as the wind roared, he spoke. "Do you know why winter never leaves Eldwood?" She shook her head. "It's just a story." "No," he said. "It's real. Long ago, a woman lived here, a healer named Mara. She could make flowers bloom in snow. The village loved her. But one winter, a sickness came. Mara tried to save them, but she couldn't. They blamed her. They drove her into the forest and left her to die." Eliza listened, her heart heavy. "What happened?" "Mara cursed the village," he said. She said, "If I cannot live in warmth, you will never know it again." The snow came that night and never stopped. Some say she's still out there in the woods waiting. Eliza shivered. "Do you believe it?" The stranger looked at her. "I've seen her." Days turned to weeks. The stranger, whose name was Elias, became Eliza's shadow. He didn't smile, but he cared for her. He brought her food from the village, told her stories, and once when she cried, he sat beside her in silence. One evening, Eliza saw something outside, a flicker of light in the forest. "What's that?" she asked. Elias stood. "It's her, Mara." Eliza grabbed her coat. "I'm coming with you." "No," he said. "It's dangerous." "My father's out there," she said. "I have to know." They walked into the storm, the light guiding them. It led to a cave hidden by snow. Inside, the air was warm, impossibly warm. A woman stood there, old and frail, her eyes glowing like stars. "Mara," Elias whispered. "You've come," Mara said, her voice soft but sharp. "Why?" Eliza stepped forward. "My father's gone. Did you take him?" Mara smiled sadly. "I take no one. The forest does. It took me too long ago. I only watch." "Then why the curse?" Eliza asked. "They hated me," Mara said. "I gave them everything and they turned on me. Now they feel my pain." Elias spoke. "I was a boy then. I saw them chase you. I said nothing. I've carried that guilt all my life." Mara looked at him. "And you, child?" she asked Eliza. "I just want my father," Eliza sobbed. "I want the cold to end." Mara sighed. "The curse ends when someone forgives, truly forgives." Eliza thought of her father, his warm hands, his laugh. She thought of the village, cold and cruel. "I forgive you," she said to Mara. "You were hurt. I understand." Mara's eyes softened. "You mean it?" "Yes," Eliza said. A tear fell from Mara's eye. "Then go. Take the light." She handed Eliza a glowing stone. "Break it and the curse will break." Eliza and Elias ran back. The storm fought them, but they reached the village square. Eliza raised the stone and smashed it on the ground. Light exploded, warm and golden. The snow melted. The sky cleared. For the first time in 100 years, the sun rose over Eldwood. The village cheered. Spring came, flowers, birds, life. But Eliza felt empty. Her father didn't return. She sat by the river, the axe in her hands. Elias found her. "You did it," he said. "It wasn't enough," she said. "He's still gone." Elias sat beside her. "I lost someone too, my sister. She died in that winter. I stayed to make it right." Eliza looked at him. "Will it ever stop hurting?" "No," he said. "But it gets quieter." Years passed. Eliza grew old in Eldwood, now green and alive. Elias stayed with her, a silent friend. They never forgot, the father, the sister, the winter. And every spring, when the first flower bloomed, Eliza whispered, "For you, Father."